And, yeah, that was that campfire tale. Oh, pretty spooky, wasn't it? Wait a minute, Wizzy.
Yeah?
Did you hear that?
I didn't hear anything.
I thought I heard something. It sounded sort of like... Oh, you. Ah, oh, you guys caught us in quite the situation here. Hey, hey, welcome in. We actually didn't expect you until tomorrow. But that's okay. Yeah, come on, sit down. We were just telling spooky stories. It's been fun.
Yeah, we weren't dismembering people out here in the woods.
Of course not. Wizzy, please. That's tomorrow's activity. So, yeah. We were just telling nice, fun, spooky, scary stories. Would you guys like to join in with us? You would? Well, that's great. You are not going to be able to talk, though. As you can never do.
You just gotta listen.
Well, just in case you forgot who I was, I'm Ross Pitt, your good friend. And this over here is my good friend, Wizzy.
And this over here is my good
Hi,
friend,
Wizzy.
Ross Pitt.
Thank you. So, I didn't say your last name. Oh well.
It's actually, Ogilvy.
I just... Well, isn't that fun? Alright, so, yeah, we just picked out a couple of stories here that, we're gonna read. And, I assume they're gonna be some pretty creepy stories.
I hope so.
Isn't that fun? I love this time of year.
My heart has been going too slowly recently. I really need something to get it running.
Very true, very true. So, Wizzy, I have a story for you.
Oh?
Or would you like to go first?
I'll let you go first.
Alright, cool. So, Wizzy, I have a story for you. And you, the other one, but mostly for you, Wizzy. I call it Mare of the House by JMJ.
And you wrote this story yourself?
We're gonna say yes, but it was actually written by JMJ. You guys should go read these stories in the description below for yourselves. But, ooh, who cares? You could also give it a like. This is gonna be my voice for when I break the fourth wall. Woo!
It's the ghost of
You're not
Ross
actually
Pass.
at a campfire with us. Alright. So, yep. This is Mayor of the House by J&J. We'd all heard of the Cupcake Killer. It was a necessary evil in small towns to pass their ghost stories along to, but those deemed young enough to still be frightened and hide under their blankets when dark houses creaked from natural swelling and bustling of weather. I never believed in her, especially not when my friends told me about how the house my family had bought used to be the bakery where she had committed her heinous crimes. Sawing legs from wailing ponies and leaving them to wiggle their stumps as she split their bellies open for her sinister harvests. They say she used their organs as a secret ingredient for cupcakes, which is why they call her what they do. How could any pony not see the fallacies in their tail? It was like the boogie pony or the old mare searching for her rusty horseshoe, filly tails. They just wanted to scare me. Now, Wizzy. That is also a reference to the old mare searching for her rusty horseshoe is actually a reference to one of my favorite episodes, my second favorite episode, in fact, Sleepless in Ponyville.
Yo?
Yep. It was in season 3. I think it was the first Scootaloo episode.
Yo!
And it was also kind of a horror one. Not so much. I think there were other episodes later on that you could classify as a bit more horror. But this had some scary elements, for sure.
Nice. So
Yeah, I love that episode, but a lot of people are so-so on it. A lot of people will probably put it in a mid-tier. But me, it's S tier, easily.
They actually have the full story there, or was that just like another one-off joke?
They didn't so much have a full story there, but it wasn't so much of a joke.
Just like a throwaway thing that they don't elaborate on.
Yeah. It's essentially a story that Rainbow Dash tells to Scootaloo, and when Scootaloo goes to sleep, she had nightmares about it.
Yo.
And
Luna better leave Scootaloo alone.
That's also... Yeah. I believe that's also when we learned that Princess Luna can go into Pony's dreams.
Oh, I thought we learned that earlier than that.
Nope. Wouldn't you believe it? They started having good ideas once Lauren Faust left. That's a joke, by the way. That's a joke.
Don't come for...
No, don't get out your shotgun. Don't.
Put that knife away.
Hey, now. You're an all-star. So yeah, I just wanted to explain that. The Boogie Pony, though, that's not from the show. In fact, if they ever reference Boogie something, it would be the Boogie Mare, but they don't.
The Boogie Mare. The mare who likes to dance.
Never have I been scared of the Boogeyman. Even when I was afraid of, like, actual ghosts and monsters and stuff like that as a kid, I was never afraid of the Boogeyman.
I was?
Precisely because of, oh no, dancing. And I get it now, that's not what it was, but that's the only thing I ever thought of when I thought of the Boogeyman.
I was specifically just because there was a wrestler named the Boogeyman, and he was pretty scary to young me. He had these creepy visionettes and stuff.
Ooh, that sounds lovely.
But what about the Boogeyman from Nightmare Before Christmas? Did he ever scare you?
No.
Really?
I don't actually know if I watched Nightmare Before Christmas for a while after I first saw it. Ish. Well, after I, quote-unquote, first saw it. He never scared me. But I first sort of saw it, like, as a kid at, like, 6 years old, and I was like, this isn't my thing. And then I saw it again at, like, 13. Coincidentally, that's, like, in the next line. But, no, I don't think I ever was scared of him.
He's a pretty scary dude, but I understand. He's way too
I guess, sort of.
entertaining.
All right, back to the story. The very scary story. Oh, do you want to roast some marshmallows?
Oh, actually,
You should do that.
All right. Oh, sounds like the hounds are baying.
Oh. Oh, dear.
That's from the woods.
Oh, my. How scary. Oh, I hope that there's no pony who's trying to get us and they have, like, 2 dogs or something. Ooh. Anyways.
Ooh.
That's how I tell scary stories. At least one's off the dome. I just go, oh, there's a leaf guy. Yeah, scary. Anyways.
There's the man
Now I'm gonna...
made of dirt.
Ooh. Alright, now I'm actually going to read on. It was like the Boogie Pony or the old mare searching for her rusty horseshoe. Filly tales. They just wanted to scare me. I had just turned 13 and had been entrusted with staying home by myself for the first time in my life. Some of my friends suggested that I should throw a party or invite some cute colt over for a game of 7 Minutes in Heaven. I did neither. I did neither. just decided to cuddle up with a book from the library about princesses and true love. My parents were going to Canterlot on business and expected to be back the next morning when we would all... let me start that over. My parents were going to Canterlot on business and expected to be back the next morning when we would all go out and have breakfast together. I was happy for them. Their art was catching on, and a few businesses had bought statues from them. They would be taking measurements and planning a specific piece for some well-to-do company in the Canterlot business section. I had just cracked the cover of the book when some pony knocked on my door. I had come home directly from school, hoping to see my parents before they left, but they had already departed. I hoped that maybe they had forgotten something and I would get my chance to wish them well on their trip. I smiled and closed the thick leather-bound cover and leapt to investigate. Standing on the tips of my hooves to peer through the spy hole, I could just make out the wiggling tongue of my best friend as she raspberried the door. It was Jib-Jab. The curved lens of the spy hole warped her peach face to a strange shape, and I giggled and twisted the lock. It was already open. It had been acting up lately, and we were waiting for some new piece to sell before... we could get it fixed.
Oh boy.
I felt a sharp cold. As I...
I was going to say, that's not good for Pinky in this story. This turned out with the lock's been acting up.
I could probably guess where that's going. I mean, since I wrote it, supposedly, I could definitely guess where that's going. Uh-huh. Ooh, you'll see. Wizzy, you'll see. Ooh. I felt a sharp cold as the door opened for Jib. One look at the sky told me that winter was well upon us, and it may not be a bad idea to get some extra firewood from the alley behind the house for the night. I just hoped the snow would stay away long enough for Mom and Dad to get home. It wasn't unusual for Jib to come over, and I was certain my parents wouldn't mind. We talked and laughed and played together well into the evening. She was nearly as excited as I was that I was getting some responsibility. She had yet to be left alone by herself. Despite her happiness for me, pangs of jealousy drove her to recant ghost stories. Despite her happiness for me, pangs of jealousy drove her to recant ghost stories, trying to frighten me on my first night alone. I puffed my chest and rolled my eyes.
This is literally you right now to me.
Oh, it is. Wow. I am pretty jealous of you, frankly.
I do have a mansion in the mountains.
Ooh,
most would be
fancy.
Jealous.
I puffed my chest and rolled my eyes. Really? A hoof that came back to life in search of its body? Rattling chains? Silly stuff. She recounting fucking Evil Dead and A Christmas Story? A Christmas Carol?
What is Evil Dead, though?
In Evil Dead 2, I think it's 2. Ash's hand, gets its own, mind. It was, the first thing that came to mind on that. I could have gone, Coraline or something, but I think Evil Dead is funnier. Coraline is a scary movie, by the way. Y'all should watch that.
Everyone should.
It's also a scary, what was it, comic or book? I don't actually know. I haven't read it, but also go read the original by Neil Gaiman. I puffed my chest and rolled my eyes. Really? A hoof that came back to life in search of its body? Rattling chains? Filly stuff. I had heard them all before so many times that they had no effect on me. Seeing my bemused grin, Jib's jaw struck a sinister determination. Seeing my bemused grin, Jib's jaw struck and a sinister determination swept her features. She sauntered to the basement door and flung it open. She reiterated the story of the pink mare and dared me to go down. I felt the dread wrinkle my courage, but I tried to play it cool. Cupcake killer or not, I didn't like the basement. I never had. I went down... Oh my god, is the cupcake... Oh my god, I realize what this is now.
It's the origin of cupcakes.
Something like that.
Wait, you realized what it is now, but you wrote it. Nice.
Shut up. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have broken the... Ooh, I realized what it is now. Ooh. Oh my god.
That's sarcastic.
That's the voice I do when I break... that's the voice that I do when I break the thing, the fourth wall, remember?
Yeah.
But oh shit. I'm gonna wait. But I just realized what we're not doing.
Oh.
Because I had one thing, and now I realize it's another thing with this story.
That's ominous.
Okay, cool. Cupcake killer or not, I didn't like the basement. I never had. I had went down into it once before when I had first moved in, helping my dad carry boxes down for storage. I know there's nothing down there but pipes and the furnace, but the feel was wrong. I don't really believe the rumors. No ponies were tortured and gutted there. But it's dank and thick, like the walls are closing in.
Like my memes.
Like there are eyes in every dark corner. She dared me to go down with her, to the place where they died, where they still shriek for help, where she cut them apart. I think a skitter in my step betrayed my bravado, and I almost said shitter there. I think a skitter in my step betrayed my bravado when I took the lead, braving the 3 steps alone. The door slammed shut. Braving the first 3 steps alone, the door slammed shut, enveloping me in a blackness seemingly not of this world. I screamed, confidence be damned. I squealed like the filly I was and slammed my hooves into the door behind me blindly. I heard laughter. I knew it was Jib. I knew it was Jib on the other side of the door, but I swear it sounded like it was coming from the bottom of the stairs. And an impossibly sweet scent that had to be my imagination caressing the edges of my consciousness.
Oh, cupcakes.
Mm-hmm. I banged on the door and my screams deafened me to the laughter, but... Was that the sound of my hoof echoing into the basement? Or some pony climbing the steps of the cellar behind me? The door swung open wildly, and Jib Jab fell over with laughter, holding her sides and kicking her hooves like a foal throwing a tantrum. I wanted to hit her, but slammed the basement door closed and yelled angrily instead. Her giggling stopped, and she genuinely looked hurt. I didn't care. I stormed off and stuffed my muzzle back into my book. I pretended not to hear her apologies. Apologies. I pretended not to hear her apologies, but after a while, I couldn't hold it against her anymore. She had got me good. Even I couldn't help but laugh a little.
Aww.
We made up quickly and played more games, discussed what cults might be interested in us, and raided the refrigerator for snacks. It was nearly dark when she left, and I stood at the door, waving her goodbye. She would come over tomorrow and we would play again. I noticed that the snow had begun to fall. It was really coming down, and had already covered the streets. Jib had only a few blocks to travel, and I knew she would be safe for such a short distance, but wow, it was really snowing hard. She paused, turning to me with a playful smirk. You know she escaped, right? The killer? I only stuck my tongue out at her and shut the door, fearing this would become an inside joke between the two of us for years to come. I pulled a few logs into the house from the back alley and lit a cozy fire in the fireplace, careful to place the screen so errant flames would not find purchase on the nearby flammables. I sank into the couch and opened my book again. I read for hours. The sun's light had perished and the house was illuminated by the flickering tongues of the fireplace. A warm orange glow outlined the furniture as I read. I came to a scary part in the story. The princess had been kidnapped and locked in a keep far away, and only the brave prince could save her. He had galloped in pursuit, but had come to the swamp of no return. A haunted place, the spirits of those who died. Goodness me. A haunted place. The spirits of those who had died in the swallowing muck of the forest clawed at the prince's hooves and threatened to drown him into the bog below. That sounds like a reference to something. Don't know what. It sounds familiar. My skin crawled, and suddenly the burning wood let out a loud pop. I jumped, breath catching my chest as I realized what had happened. It took me a moment to compose myself, pulling a throw pillow over my tummy and craning my neck side to side, straining my eyes in search of ghostly hooves or movement anywhere in my proximity. There was nothing. I was just jumpy from the book. It was then that Jab's prank returned to me and the thoughts of the killer. It was then that Jib's prank returned to me, and thoughts of the cupcake killer strangled my imagination. For a moment, she appeared, and I clutched the pillow for my life. That grim smile of blood-stained teeth, a look of sadistic glee in her pinprick eyes froze me in place. She had a butcher knife in her teeth, dripping crimson droplets down her pale pink coat. I blinked and she was gone, but the image stayed with me for far too long. I covered my head with the pillow and cried, wishing for sleep to take me and morning to come. Tomorrow would be great. Just close my eyes and sleep. After some time spent shivering silently, ears perked to every crack and pop of the house, sleep didn't come. It hit me, and I fell off to dreams of my parents as they... It hit me, and I fell off to dreams of parents. I'm gonna start that over yet again. It hit me, and I fell off to dreams of my parents as the dancing light of the fire died in the night. I awoke to a soft blackness and bitter cold. The fire had flickered its last...
Terrible cold?
Oh my god, Wizzy. Jesus Christ. That actually did kind of get me. I was wrapped up in the story here.
Yes!
Good job, man. Good job.
Wizzy won.
A really easy way to get you to jump, by the way, when you're telling your story. I just crank my fucking gain up to 1,000,000 and scream. But before that, I like lower the gain just slowly over time until it's like nothing, and then yank it up and scream. And that's how you do it.
Oh god.
That would be awful.
Just you turn it up and then you actually start getting murdered. It's like, Ross, this isn't funny. Stop it.
gosh. Ross? Ugh, fine. I'll finish it myself. Anyways, this is terrifying. I awoke to the soft blackness and bitter cold. The fire had flickered its last, but I could see well from accumulation of snow outside. The moon's sliver gaze reflected from the thick white powder outside. I had fallen asleep, frightened, but now it felt 1,000 lifetimes ago and ridiculous. I was afraid of an old mare's story designed to scare foals. It was embarrassing, and I chastised myself for succumbing to such a stupid story.
Hey,
Yo.
don't bring yourself down too much, Pinky. We all fell for Bloody Mary back in the day.
Ugh. First time I ever heard of Bloody Mary was in the trailer for Paranormal Activity 3.
Really?
Yep. I'd never heard of it. I heard, I think, versions of it, but it wasn't Bloody Mary.
Dang. When did that movie come out?
Like 2011 to 2013, I think. I don't actually know.
Oh, okay, and that's not actually as late as I was thinking. I was thinking it was like
let me actually
15 to 16.
Let me just take out my trusty keyboard that I always take for camping trips, so that I can type on it while thinking of when Paranormal Activity 3 might have come out.
It's just a fidget toy keyboard.
Yes, that's what it is. 2011, it must have been. Because that's also when, what's it called? The Woman in Black came out, I think. I could be totally wrong on this. Let me just bring this out again. A Woman in Black. No, that was 2012. Of course, silly me. I just remembered now that was when the Lorax came out. Anyways. Yeah. Of the two, honestly, the Paranormal Activity 3 probably my favorite of the Paranormal Activity films because the other ones are so fucking boring. They're boring. They're so boring. God damn it. I hate them.
I think the first one was just iconic to me, so
I get that. It's
like that I appreciate.
But it's like it's always that sort of thing with any like new sort of like Blair Witch Project. That one I get the love for it, but I don't get the love for it to people nowadays. 'Cause that's another one that's extremely boring to me. Although I love like the behind the scenes and stuff like that. That's great. But it's just people in the woods. They're screaming out like nothing that we know.
But that was the first found footage horror movie. That's
actually
what makes that one so iconic.
It's debatable. It kind of technically the first found footage horror movie, but that's debatable. But yeah, definitely started off the genre, but that doesn't give it a pass. Not to me, at least.
Paranormal Activity was the first one I saw. And it seemed like that one sort of started a trend as well, like because I remember a lot of found footage movies started coming out after that.
Did Paranormal Activity or Lost Tapes come out first? Either way, yeah, Paranormal Activity started that trend, but I'm curious because one of those would have been my first. You don't know what Lost Tapes is?
I feel like I've.
It was okay. So this is one of my favorite shows of all time. It's so goofy.
Oh, it's a show that I definitely haven't.
It was a show on the Animal Planet. It focused on like cryptids and stuff, and it was a found footage horror TV show.
Okay, I think that was made by the same people as Paranormal Activity, was it? Or am I thinking of a different show?
I don't think so. I would have definitely heard something like that.
Okay, I think there was a show created by the people who made Paranormal Activity that was similar to that.
Maybe.
That came out soon
but-
after like the second Paranormal Activity or something.
But aside from Chronicle, which was really good as well, it's like the only found footage horror thing that I really like. Because the episodes are so short, they're able to cram a lot more in. They have to cram a lot more into a short amount of time. And even that, a lot of the episodes are still really boring. But what makes up for it is the monster effects. And oh man, I cannot believe that this stuff scared me as a kid, but it did.
Is it like practical effects, or do they do like CGI and stuff?
It was... the show had pretty much no budget. They mostly did practical effects, but when you did see the monster, which was very rare, it's called Lost Tapes after all, it was like, I want to say 60% practical. But when there were CG moments, there were CG moments. Oh, it's embarrassing.
Oh boy.
But that show and Factor Faked Paranormal Files, those two kept me up for nights on end. It was great.
I think I remember watching that last one, actually.
Factor Faked Paranormal Files, by the way, my favorite sort of paranormal ghost looking at Ghost Adventures type show. Because, like, they're not taking everything at face value. At the very least. They're like, yeah, this was probably this, actually. And it's like,
okay, the sound that's like a creaking door, was that a ghost or a creaking door?
Yeah, exactly.
Probably a creaking door.
And, but those had moments that I'm pretty sure was totally fake as well, but they were creepy moments, at least. Ghost hunting shows.
Yeah, that was like the start of my love for horror, was those types of shows that my mom would watch back in the day. And YouTube ghost caught on camera videos.
Yeah, it was definitely YouTube ghost caught on camera videos for me. The Haunting of Sunshine Girl, actually, specifically.
Yo!
Oh my god, you know it?
Yeah,
I know no one else who knows that.
I think it was like 2017 or something when I found that. I think I watched a different series by the same people from the same channel. That was The Haunting of Sunshine Girl. It was like their project after that. But I do know about The Haunting of Sunshine Girl. Nice.
I think that was legitimately the last... Like, that was around the time when I last watched it. Was 2017 or so. Is around the same time I got a Twitter account, ironically enough. But...
Same.
But that stuff scared me. But I was also like... That and Lost Tapes is what really introduced me to horror as a whole. And, like, made me go, this can be a really cool genre. Even if I thought that both of those were totally real as a kid. Now, I was so-and-so on both of them, but, you know.
Yeah.
I was like, these are real, but maybe they're not? And turns out, no, neither of them were. In fact, Lost Tapes told you each episode. That's true. It's pretty impossible. Lost Tapes told you each episode, these are not real events. These are... I think it said something like they're based off of real events or something.
Nice.
But my ass didn't read the disclaimer. So I was like, oh, this is definitely real.
I was definitely like that with some stuff. But I can't actually...
You'll hear
examples.
If you go on to the Lost Tapes... If you go into the Lost Tapes deep dive, there's going to be a lot of people who say that exact same thing. As a kid, I didn't read the disclaimer, so I thought it was all real because I was dumb and a kid. That's how it works. So the point is, Paranormal Activity 3, the best Paranormal Activity film.
I'll let you have that opinion.
Look, man, the others are so boring. Okay. Where was I? Let me just go back into my mind palace. Ah, yes. I had fallen asleep frightened, but now it felt 1,000 lifetimes ago and ridiculous. I was afraid of an old mare's story designed to scare foals. It was embarrassing, and I chastised myself for succumbing to such a stupid story. It was late, cold, and I hungered for my soft bed and warm blankets. I kicked the pillow from my chest and rolled to... I've got some digestion going on. I kicked the pillow from my chest and rolled to my hooves, walking from the living room. I paused at the kitchen window, peering out into the wintry white blank... Let me start this over again. I paused at the kitchen window, peering out into the wintry white banks of snow that had appeared. It had really piled up and was still pouring. It was then that I thought I saw movement in the night, just out of my vision. The snow obscured my sight, and I squinted to see better. Something out there moved, some distance away. Some distance away, I could see the form of a pony standing on their back legs, facing me. I forgot to turn off the light. Dang it me. That's what I got up for.
What the heck? You've been doing this with
I forgot
the light
to...
on?
No. I haven't. Excuse me
You're
for 1
supposed to
second.
put out the campfire.
I'll be right back. Sizzle. Okay, now that's creepy. Nice and creepy. I was like, ooh, this is really scary, especially with my light off. My light's on. And that's how I remembered that I was going to turn off the light in my room. Ooh, breaking the fourth wall. Something moved out there. Some distance away, I could see the form of a pony standing on their back legs, facing me. My heart lurched in my chest, and I sank down below the windowsill. Were my eyes deceiving me? Was I still under the influence of that story? It was so late, surely no pony was really out there in this blizzard. I swallowed, and a hard lump hurt my throat as I forced it down. I was just being foolish. It was nothing, a trick of the eyes and a tired mind. I popped my head up again. It was closer this time. Oh, God. This is weirdly scary to me. Like, the way this is written is scary to me, and I don't know why.
Yeah. It's written in a way that lets you picture it really well.
It might be just the scariest thing we've read. And A Fleeting Light in the Darkness is scary, but it's scary in a different sense to me. This one is just like an immediate scariness to me. It was closer this time. Oh, sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I have to say, the scariest one to me was probably, The Feud.
That's a really scary one.
I think it was just like the realness of that one was a little bit more scary to me, but...
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I think
That one
like
was freaky
appreciating
in a whole
something in a
different way.
horror sense is different than that. So
Yeah. Definitely. Go listen to the episode The Feud, by the way. Obviously, once you get back home, you don't have any internet out here right now. Unless you downloaded it. In which case,
you know, if
I guess
they get back
you
home.
can. But we're a bit busy right now. Good point, by the way, Wizzy, if you get back home. It was closer this time. A pink mare standing on her back legs. Something held in her forelegs in a gift-like gesture. I could almost make out her face, but the snow was too thickly falling and hiding her features. My blood froze in my veins, and panic shook me like a salt shaker. I felt paralyzed as the pink pony stepped closer in her awkward upright stance. Somehow, I ducked below the window again and mumbled to myself, frantically trying to think of what to do, where to hide, whether to flee or not. I had to think fast. She was moving closer all the time. I tried to tell myself that it was a neighbor coming to check on me, but I knew better. It was the cupcake killer. Okay, why am I just now getting chills down my... feeling like that breeze of chill. I've got goosebumps. That's what I'm trying to say. Nope. We don't have windows out here, Wizzy. Yeah, this is giving me chills, is what I'm trying to say. Oof. Creepy. Shh. It was the cupcake killer. She had escaped and was coming back home. I was safe, right? I could hide in my upstairs closet. My parents would be home soon, and she couldn't get in. The doors were locked. It was just then that I remembered the broken lock on the front door. I had to get to it. I had to lock it. I hoped I had time. I needed to look out the window one more time and judge how long I had to run to the I needed to look out the window one more time and judge how long I had to run to the door. Lock it and get to a good hiding place. For the last time, I stood and turned my eyes to the window. It was as if some pony rested the breath from my body. She was standing just a few feet away, her icy eyes shimmering in the light of the reflecting snow, daggers dancing in fetid blue pools. I'm not getting to sleep tonight, am I? Her smile was sanity-wrenching and twisted like the crook of a gnarled tree, a retching gash of fear. Her pink coat was splotched with red. Gouts, drops, lines of crimson decorated her thin frame like wandering scars. In her hooves was a tray of cupcakes, brown, lumpy, oozing with something sickly. I felt my consciousness threatening to fail. The world tinged with blackness as fear gripped my mind, and I realized that the snow was unmarred, complete, pristine, but that could only mean, oh shit. I just realized what that meant.
The snow being unmarred?
Hi.
She's a ghost?
That she's in the house already. It's a reflection.
Oh.
Which sounds similar to something else that I heard recently.
Hold on, there are people talking outside my room.
Oh yeah, no problem, dog. Sounds similar to something I can't remember if I read it or something. Might have been on Reddit or something like that, but yeah. Oof.
Okay. Where were we?
I've got a surprise party. I've got a surprise party for you. Your parents are already there. Have a cupcake. The voice was far too high-pitched to be sane, and the happy tones dripped of the underthrow that holds corpses. I realized too late that what I had been seeing was her reflection.
Jesus.
So that was just a dream. That's my ending for it. I don't like sad endings. Yeah, it's just going to be
Well,
a
you
dream.
did write it, so.
Yep, I could do what I want. I didn't write it. So that was Mayor of the House by JMJ. And I get that that's like a double meaning now, because guess who the real mayor of the house was? The one who originally lived there. Woo!
Oh. Yeah, I thought that when you were saying reflection, I thought you were saying it was like her. And I was like, oh, I don't like that.
Nope. Yeah, no, it was far different. But also, okay, God. So I realized I should have realized this way earlier in the story because they had mentioned it. So Pinkie Pie is not the main character.
Oh, I realized.
I
as well.
And like
it says like the character is Pinky in this.
I realized it halfway through. You could go back and listen. But I was like, oh shit.
Was that when
I realized it's a Cupcake sequel?
Oh, it's a sequel.
Yep.
Oh,
and it's a I thought this was to the.
I just thought. Oh, actually, that makes sense. Yeah, because they were talking about her being like a legend, so that.
Yeah.
Would add up.
And I don't know why the thing that immediately went to my mind when they first started talking about like cooking up ponies into cupcakes, what went to my mind was Sweeney Todd. So that's why at first I didn't realize it. The part way through the story I did, and I was like, oh shit, this is a sequel to Cupcakes, and frankly, it is a far better version of Cupcakes.
This one was like written really well. I don't remember like typos. Yeah. It was written sophisticatedly, eloquently.
Yeah. They very clearly, they cared about writing the story.
And that ending too.
Yeah, it legitimately, like once I turned off the light, I was like, oh, this is a mistake. I'm actually kind of freaked out right now. And I don't know why. I'm not really scared of the dark anymore.
You're home alone.
I'm in my room. My closet's like 2 feet big. It's not... If I checked on it, nobody would be in there. Because it would be really difficult to hide in my closet.
It'd be like really easy difficult to hide in my closet, just because I have the big old blankets up for my makeshift sound booth.
Oh, man.
That would Why do I smell cupcakes coming from it?
Ghost.
Yeah, but you should be scared because, of course, we're out in the woods, and you're not safe at home.
Of course. Oh, right. But yeah, very, very frightening story. I really loved it. And as I said earlier, it's just a better... It's really clever how they tie this in with Cupcakes, because Cupcakes is like the urban legend brony story.
Yeah. Ooh.
And the way that they build it into like the urban legendness of Cupcakes into the story itself, that was very genius. And it's like, how do you do that? And I think they did it very, very well. And I liked the feeling of being just old enough that you're able to be home alone at night, but not old enough that things don't make you jump in the night.
I don't think I've ever been home alone.
Yeah, it makes sense considering your family. Yeah. It's huge. No, yeah, of course I have. I wasn't home alone like that late, but I had experiences where it was like my parents weren't home or anything like that, and I was just sitting in my bedroom going, okay, nothing's going to pop out at me. Yeah, I think this story captured... Yep. This story captured that feeling really, really well. And yeah, I really appreciated it for that.
I do have one experience where I was moving into a new house when I was 12.
Oh.
And my mom and other siblings were packing stuff up at the old house. And me, my dad, and my older brother were going to be moving stuff into the new house. So he drops me and my brother off at the new house and goes back to pick the rest of the people up and the rest of the stuff to bring to the new house.
Very creepy.
And me and my brother are just, like, playing video games and stuff. We both were, like, kind of sick at this point. So my brother goes to bed early. And I'm just, like, out in the new living room. It's mostly empty, filled with new moving boxes. And I have, like, no clue what this new area is like. And while I'm sitting on the couch, late at night, waiting for the rest of my family to get here with, like, dinner and whatever, I hear a train, like the loudest train horn that I've heard in my life, just blasting by the house in the middle of the night. And of course, that's a regular occurrence after this, because the train regularly went by that house, but that being the first experience was just, like, terrifying.
Mm-hmm. That would get me. That would get me good. Yeah.
Just waiting for something bad to happen.
Man, this was a great one. Frankly, that alone could fill an episode itself, but we have another one to read.
Well, I think...
Yeah, what's up?
You might like this other one a little bit better.
Oh, yeah? What's it called?
I got one to one-up it. It's called Let Her In by Too Shy.
What a curious name. How'd you come up with that name, Wizzy?
Oh, yes, I was just too shy to actually put my name in the author title, so I didn't put that title there.
Oh, you.
Chapter 1. It's cold out here. Night 1. A hoof tapped against the window panes. It was 4 in the morning, and Fluttershy was standing outside of Applebloom's bedroom window. Her eyes were blank, and her smile slight enough to go virtually unnoticed. As Applebloom turned her head toward the window, Fluttershy raised a hoof and tapped against the glass again. She mouthed 4 words, her mouth barely moving.
It's cold out here.
Applebloom pulled the covers over her head. She listened to the creaks and groans of the house settling. It would be dawn soon.
Okay, Wizzy, I'm going to have to stop you right there. I just really want to compliment you on your Fluttershy there.
Thank you.
That is, frankly, exactly how I would have wanted it to be read. If it was read by someone with a deeper voice than you would normally have for a Fluttershy VA.
Do you remember the Puppet Master in Avatar?
Yes. Oh, shit.
Do you remember Katara's horror story in that episode?
Yeah, the legitimately terrifying story.
Yeah.
That entire episode's legitimately terrifying, but...
It's so cold, and I can't get warm.
Yeah. Something about the cold, man.
The tapping started again. Night 2. Fluttershy was standing outside of the window again. Her eyes didn't look quite right, but Applebloom would have been at a loss if asked to describe how. The dark red stain across the left side of Fluttershy's face contrasted harshly with her normally bright fur. She again tapped on the glass, again mouthed those 4 words.
It's cold out here.
It was not cold. If anything, it was an unusually warm spring night. Applebloom pulled the covers up to her muzzle. A part of her wanted to open the window and let Fluttershy in. Yet, there was that whisper at the back of her young mind. No. Some part of Applebloom's brain said, "Do not open the window." So she merely sat there, staring into Fluttershy's slightly off eyes. Sleep seemed a remote possibility, but eventually it came. Apple Bloom dozed off just as the tapping stopped. Night 3. That night, Apple Bloom dreamed of toys. Not merely toys in general, but familiar plush or wooden faces from her childhood. She saw the wooden dolls Granny Smith had given her. The hand-me-downs from Big Macintosh and Applejack were also there. Although they looked dingier than Apple Bloom remembered, she found herself digging through what seemed to be an unending pile of toys. "What am I looking for?" Apple Bloom wondered. Apple Bloom decided a minute later it must be King Paws, her favorite teddy bear. Is that real?
I don't think so.
Aw, I was hoping that she'd actually have something called King Paws.
She might have. I know that there's been a few, episodes where she's rummaging through her, old baby toys and stuff. And she's like, I'm an adult, I don't need shit. That kind of stuff.
She's 6. She's not an adult.
Oh, she's probably 12 at the end of the series. Not the very end of the series. That's a flash forward where she's an adult, but whatever.
She's just like an accountant in the future.
Oh, man. Got her special talent in finding other ponies' special talents, and she ends up an accountant.
Oh, God.
Ouch.
She remembered loving him immensely when she was a foal. But why couldn't she find him? Surely he must be somewhere. Surely this relic of Apple Bloom's foalhood was not so easily buried. But King Paws hadn't been buried, had he? He had gone missing. He had vanished from her life one spring night, and Apple Bloom had never been quite the same since. With this realization, Apple Bloom started to sob. This rush of emotion yanked her out of her dream. Fluttershy was standing outside the window again. Clutched in her mouth was a tattered old teddy bear.
Fluttershy, are you a pervert?
Oh no.
That's the real scary story.
Then where did the red stains come from?
That's a good question.
Night 4. Apple Bloom slept in Applejack's bed that night. She made up some excuse about nightmares, horribly aware of how immature she sounded, but her big sister was more than willing to switch bedrooms for the night. And of course, Apple Bloom could not tell her the real reason she was so distraught. Why not? You should be telling her. It's terrifying. That's her friend, too.
Adults. They'll never believe her.
True. Fluttershy just comes over and is like, "What? I would never do that."
Me? Widow old me? Never.
Lying in bed, Apple Bloom started thinking about her foalhood for some reason. She recalled bright eyes peering out from an open wardrobe, shadows slinking across the floor, a husky sigh as she approached sleep. But those were not memories, were they? Surely they were simply the remnants of her past bad dreams. Applejack complained of a headache the next morning, but otherwise none the worse for wear. Night 5. Apple Bloom was alone in the house. Her siblings and grandmother had left the premises. The former due to a last-minute order, and the latter due to some business with a distant relative. They would not be back until late the next day. Prior to bed, Apple Bloom locked all the doors and windows in the house. She made a bed for herself on the living room couch, and as one final precaution, Apple Bloom took an old garden hoe from the barn.
Will you watch your language?
What? You always need some, bodyguard, right? And all she had was an old garden hoe.
Wizzy.
She needs someone to watch guard for her while she's asleep. That's what it's saying, right?
Yes. But I don't need to say it. You can bleep it out. No need to call people things like that.
She calls Granny Smith an old garden hoe.
I mean, kind of. Granny Smith was wild back in her days.
True. She laid it next to her makeshift bed within hoof's reach. It was raining outside. Apple Bloom listened to the raindrops splattering across the roof as she dozed off. Occasionally, she was convinced she heard something else. A footstep? A bang? A whisper? No, it was her imagination. Or perhaps the wind. Apple Bloom snuggled deeper under the blanket. More noises. They sounded as if they were coming from her bedroom, but that was impossible. The window was closed. But was it closed? Apple Bloom sat up, her heart pounding. She thought her locking down of the house had been thorough, but hadn't she intentionally avoided the bedroom, trusting the window to be closed? Yet any pony in her family could have opened it prior to their leaving. Even more noises. Banging and perhaps footsteps. And Apple Bloom was now certain they were coming from her room. She clutched the blanket, quivering. What was she to do? Investigate? Flee? But what if it really was her imagination? The window was firmly shut. If so, stepping out of the house might put her in more danger. Apple Bloom threw off the blanket and dropped to the floor. She had to know. Perhaps she was trotting to her own death, but it was better than simply waiting for some unknown horror to grab her. Apple Bloom took the garden hoe in her mouth before she headed up the stairs. The house was silent, but Apple Bloom was not fooled. She approached her bedroom with caution. A part of her expected the door to fly open and some awful creature to pounce. But having a weapon of sorts made Apple Bloom feel brave. Brave enough to gently push the door open without hesitation. The window was open. The wind, it was now practically howling, was slapping the sheets of rain and leaves into the room. Judging by the twigs and leaves that had accumulated under the window, it had been open for a while. But the open window was not the part that made Apple Bloom pause. It was not the cause of the scream that climbed halfway up her throat. She saw it within seconds, and once she did, Apple Bloom thanked Celestia she had not stepped into the room. Something was in Apple Bloom's bed. A pony-shaped lump was visible under the covers. It was moving, its chest rising and falling with every breath. Apple Bloom thought she smelled something rotting and dusty, like the pages of a very old book, but she could have imagined it. Apple Bloom did not move. Neither did the creature, save for its breathing. Apple Bloom realized the creature did not seem to realize she was there. It did not stir as she stood frozen in the doorway. Nor did the wind and rain seem to disturb it. Fluttershy literally just wanted to bed. It was cold.
It sounded pretty cold, for sure.
Apple Bloom eventually left the room, quietly shutting the door behind her. She went back downstairs.
Oh, that's what's making me cold. I'm standing right below the vent. That's right. Forgot I had that thing in here.
Yeah, the random vent that we found in the woods and set up camp around.
Yeah, when I'm sitting down, the vent usually passes over me. The rush of air. That turns out standing up was a great idea for this recording. But yes, no, woods, woo, bears.
Quietly shutting the door behind her, she went back downstairs, slower this time as to not make too much noise. Apple Bloom ended up spending the night in the barn. When her family returned and demanded an explanation, she made up some half-believable story about a burglar. She refused to return to the house until all the rooms had been searched. As Apple Bloom had expected, no signs of a break-in were found, save for the open window in her bedroom. Apple Bloom returned to her bedroom after this search was complete. Other than a few dry leaves and the lingering smell of decay, there was no indication of anything having slept in her bed. However, Apple Bloom found that one of the dresses in her wardrobe was covered with dirt and what appeared to be a single bloody hoof print. Apple Bloom burned the dress in the fireplace later that day. Night 6. Oh, the hounds are back.
Oh, Jesus. Don't get me.
They want the bologna sandwiches, Ross!
Fuck. I don't even like bologna.
You don't like bologna?
No, I love bologna.
Wonderful. Apple Bloom stayed up all night. She was sleepy to the point of near madness, but she refused to tear her eyes from the window. Fluttershy was watching her yet again. This time, she had a single piece of ripped cloth in her mouth. It was from the dress Apple Bloom had burnt. Apple Bloom had buried the remains of it in the yard. Apple Bloom thought of the eyes and the shadows that seemed to have haunted her early foalhood. She was now convinced she had also heard scratching noises and perhaps tapping, but memories and nightmares had become interchangeable as of late. Apple Bloom was not wholly convinced they were not one and the same. The two sat locked in what seemed to be a staring contest until morning came. As soon as Celestia's light poked its way through the clouds, Fluttershy turned and trotted away. Apple Bloom did not get up from her bed. It was minutes before she at last gave in to slumber. Night 7. Applejack had found the remains of the dress and demanded to know why Apple Bloom was burning her clothes. She also asked Apple Bloom about her apparent sleeping troubles and her hostility towards Fluttershy. Oh, poor Fluttershy.
Yeah.
Just imagining Applejack brings her around Sweet Apple Acres and Apple Bloom freaks out.
Poor Fluttershy. She didn't do nothing, maybe. I don't know. Is this Fluttershy? Who's to say?
Maybe?
But I'm pretty sure it said that it was not Fluttershy.
Maybe Apple Bloom has just been hallucinating this whole thing.
Yeah, maybe. It could be. Yeah.
Then again, that doesn't explain the dress, so...
Oh, yeah. That's right. Hallucinating and sleepwalking?
Huh? I was gonna say it was sort of like the shirt piece in the Nightmare on Elm Street movie. Where she grabs it and she's still holding it in the real world.
Good movie. Depending on which one you're talking about.
The
original.
very first one, I think.
Good.
Yeah.
Very first one, the third one, and I think a New Nightmare. Those were all good. Pretty sure the rest were crap.
Freddy vs. Jason, I at least like.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah. Freddy vs. Jason was rad as fuck. Not a good movie, but that one was great.
It was just sort of like it was nice having them meet up like that and fight.
Yeah. It's just like, that's how you do a crossover, you know? Just like, they want to see them interact. Let's let them do this. Why not? Doesn't always have to be anything more.
Back to Apple Bloom. Apple Bloom confessed nothing. She made excuses that were far from plausible. Apple Bloom did not care if her sister was satisfied or not. A part of her hoped Applejack would send her away, perhaps to a relative's house. At least Apple Bloom would be far away from this nightmare if that happened. But Applejack had not sent her away. Apple Bloom was certain Applejack was consulting Big Macintosh over the matter. But for the time being, she was forced into another staring contest with Fluttershy, or whatever loathsome creature wore Fluttershy's face.
Staring contest 1v1, you and me.
Okay, let's do it.
Huh.
Did you blink?
Yeah, I blinked.
Aw, man. Wait a minute,
I'm
that
not
means
good
I
at
win!
staring contests.
Imagine that this is like the Gen 1 Fluttershy or something. She somehow made it into this world.
I don't actually think there is another generation Fluttershy. I think she might
I
be
was
the only
hoping.
one of the main 6 who wasn't in another generation. I could be wrong, though.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought Rarity wasn't.
Rarity was in Gen 3. Completely different, by the way. They basically switched her and Rainbow Dash's personalities around.
Dang!
Yeah. But it was for the better.
But for the time being, she was forced into another staring contest with Fluttershy, or whatever loathsome creature wore Fluttershy's face, outside her window. Fluttershy pressed her hooves against the window. Her eyes seemed larger than they should have been. She appeared mournful, as if denied some great conquest.
Okay, actually she was in a previous generation, apparently.
Oh?
She was an Earth Pony. which makes sense because she was originally going to be an Earth Pony in this film. In this show.
Dang.
Because Pinkie Pie was going to be the Pegasus. Because she was originally Surprise, who was a character from the first generation, I believe.
What was her name?
Surprise.
That's a bit simple for a pony name. I'm glad they switched it.
But it would have been great. I'm sure it would have made, if in the original show that she was developing, it would have made a bit more sense, I'm sure. Let me see here, though. Generation 1, I think she might have, the original might have only been a toy? So I can't see anything else. That's fun.
Oh, okay.
I like that.
Her plastic limbs moving up and down.
I don't think the original pony toys moved very much, except for their necks. In fact, I don't think the new ones moved all that much either.
Yeah. Because they're just like little horses. They, you make them move like dolls.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's how it's done.
Apple Bloom could only stare for so long before she turned away. Fluttershy mouthed those words again.
It's cold out here.
She mouthed. Apple Bloom stuck her head underneath the covers. She did not hear Fluttershy tapping at the window, but that mournful face had taken over her thoughts. Night 8. Apple Bloom thought she might have been sleepwalking the previous night, for she had not awakened in her bed, but curled up in front of the closed window. Enough is enough, Apple Bloom thought as she lay in bed. It might have seemed like a brave proclamation, but in truth Apple Bloom was terrified. She again did not sleep, her eyes focused on the creature outside of her window. Fluttershy returned Apple Bloom's stare, smiling and licking her lips. Night 9. Earlier, Apple Bloom had overheard her older siblings talking about doctors. She was aware they planned to send her to one. Whatever her siblings planned to do, Apple Bloom was confident her troubles would end soon enough. Apple Bloom opened her window that night. She waited until the sun had almost sunk below the trees before she did so. Her family had dozed off a little while ago. Dang, these farmers go to sleep early.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta wake up early to milk those cows. Or whatever farmers do up in that time.
Yeah, what do they have for, like, livestock at the Sweet Apple Acres?
Pigs and
Oh.
cows. I don't know why they have pigs. I guess they're just pets.
They don't have bacon?
They're horses.
Yeah?
Yeah, fair enough. They also have chickens, I believe. Although Fluttershy also has chickens, so I might be just confusing it with that.
Okay. I was going to say, I thought Fluttershy had chickens.
Yeah, they all have chickens. Oh yeah, that's
They
right.
really
because
don't
they
eat
have,
meat, do they?
Chicken coops. Of course not.
I was just, like, thinking, I was like, well, they do have, like, animal products, but it's always, like, milk and eggs and stuff.
Yeah,
So they're pretty much vegetarians.
yeah. Not strictly speaking vegan, but yeah, it's for sure.
Because they always have, like, their cakes and stuff.
Yeah. I'm sure they like we can make vegan cakes somehow or whatever. So I assume they'd be able to do that, but I don't know.
But they still milk their cows and collect their eggs.
Yep. Cuz that's just all they know how to do.
Confident she was the only sleepless soul in the house, Apple Bloom left her bedroom and went downstairs. In the kitchen, Apple Bloom procured an old glass lamp. She also took the sharpest kitchen knife she could find from the drawer. Oh, Apple Bloom, you're a baby! Make Applejack do this.
Applejack doesn't believe her. She's got to do it
Yeah.
herself.
Applejack is like the element of honesty, and she's just like, you're not being honest with me now! Over and over, gaslighting Apple Bloom. I just realized Apple Bloom literally has a gaslight now.
Oh shit, you're right.
far more useful than the garden hose she'd chosen last time. Hey, don't talk about her like that. But in this case, the purpose was not mere defense. Applebloom waited until darkness had truly fallen. Then she crept back to her room, the gas lamp held precariously in one hoof and the knife handled in her mouth. Applebloom nudged the door open, inch by inch, careful to minimize any noise she made. If that were my house, those doors would creak more if you opened them slowly. The creature was again lying in Applebloom's bed, the outline of its form underneath the covers. Applebloom placed the gas lamp on the floor. She froze as it touched the floorboards with the slightest thump. But she saw no evidence of the creature awakening at the sound. Applebloom held back a sigh of relief. Applebloom waited a few more minutes to ascertain that the thing was asleep. But then she then approached the bed, knife still clutched tightly in her mouth. She was shaking, but she refused to hesitate in this moment of action. Applebloom reached the side of the bed and gently pressed both hooves against it. She eased herself up, carefully pulling herself onto the bed next to the creature. And then the creature moved. It was only a slight shift, as if it was trying to get comfortable, but it was enough to completely destroy Applebloom's nerve. Applebloom dropped the knife, a squeak of terror flying out of her mouth.
Fuck.
She pressed both hooves against her mouth, but it was far too late. The creature seemed to sense Applebloom was near. It moved in one swift, jerky motion, arching its back and bending its head in a way no normal pony could have managed.
Fluttershy.
The creature gave a long growl.
Wacky Fluttershy. Always doing that.
Yeah, just like a weird Jabberwock Fluttershy thing.
The creature gave a long growl, its body appearing to convulse as it threw the covers from it. Applebloom screamed, leaping from the bed. The creature leapt from the bed as well, moving in a way similar to a spider. It still resembled Fluttershy, but its neck was bent at an unnatural angle, as if broken. Its head was bent to one side and upside down. It regarded Applebloom with its upside-down grin, a grin extending far past what should have been possible. Its tongue hung limply from one side of its mouth like that of an excited dog. It was panting in eagerness. Applejack rushed into the room, a gas lamp in her hoof. "What the hey is going on?" Applejack said breathlessly, but Applebloom could only whimper, pointing a hoof at the creature that now stood in silent triumph near the window. Applejack's eyes widened with amusement and horror. "What in tarnation?" Applejack gasped. The creature moved its neck again, adjusting its head to a more normal position. Its face no longer even vaguely resembled Fluttershy. It instead had morphed into some twisted mockery of a shy pony's face. The mouth stretched even farther, the pupils smaller than pinpricks. It was breathing heavily, a tongue at least a foot long hanging from its gaping maw. Applejack tossed the gas lamp at the creature. It shattered upon impact, setting the vile thing on fire. All at once, the creature's twisted face rearranged itself. It now became a more accurate representation of Fluttershy. A scent not unlike that of sulfur rose as patches of its fur hastily burned away. The creature objected loudly, alternating between screams eerily similar to those of Fluttershy and deep screeches not unlike that of a tortured bird. The fur and flesh burned away at an unnatural rate, the screams and screeches continuing long after they should have ended. The last to surrender to the inferno was the light pink mane. After a few moments, all that remained was a charred skeleton. Epilogue. Applebloom and Applejack did not speak to each other. Neither spoke a word of the incident, even after Applejack had buried the body in a secluded part of the farm. In fact, they both took the secret to their graves. Applebloom never again slept with her window open. even on peculiarly hot nights. Eventually, she was able to resume regular interaction with the real Fluttershy, although it took months before she could look her in the eye. And for a while after that, Apple Bloom would shudder every time Fluttershy smiled. Aw, man, that happened so much!
Oh, man.
The creature's smile would haunt her for the remainder of her days.
Apple Bloom just makes herself really unpleasant around Fluttershy just so that she doesn't have to see her smile.
God. Just, tries to figure out all of Fluttershy's insecurities just for this one
Which
reason.
is a lot. There are a lot of those.
Aww. Man, we need to do more Fluttershy happy ending stories.
We do. We read Fluttershy has tea with Jesus. I think that was it.
Yeah. Poor Fluttershy.
Yeah. Very unfortunate.
Occasionally, on nights when it is peculiarly cold and the wind is close to howling, Apple Bloom will swear she hears a tapping at her window, but she never gets up to check. She merely snuggles deeper under her covers, willing herself to enter dreamland quicker. But it is a little harder to ignore the voice. It whispers to her, seemingly inches away from her ear. It sounds very much like Fluttershy.
It's cold down here.
I don't know actually how well the mic picked that up, but I hope well.
I heard it.
Because that is the ending to Let Her In by Too Shy Shy.
Oh boy. That one was
Man.
also good.
These were so good to read together.
Yeah. These... Okay, so there are weird similarities that you're probably not even thinking. There are already similarities to these two stories. But there are even more if you dive deeper into it.
Really?
Like Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie, both voiced by Andrea Libman. So stop letting Andrea Libman characters around windows. And children.
And horses.
Yeah. But yeah, Let Her In. I really liked this one as well. I think I might like the other one a bit more. Just because that one kind of freaked me out more. But I'd get a reading of this and add sound effects, and I think that would be great. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if there was one like that.
I think the other story, it had more of that creepy ending, and it did a twist better, but this one was... It was definitely, creepy and everything, but the ending, I felt, was more like a classic horror movie.
Yeah, look at that. There are at least two readings of it, and one has really creepy image. I'll link that to you later, I guess. I agree.
Sort of like they destroy the big monster, and then there's the ending where it's oh, maybe not.
Yeah.
Which is good, but it has been a bit played out.
I think this one's fantastic. In that it's a poor fucking kid. Family doesn't believe her. She is getting no sleep because of this crap.
I hope they send her to the doctor after this, because she's going to need therapy.
Yeah, as would I. And yeah, it doesn't explain what the fuck the monster is. But whereas ironically the other one kind of did explain what the monster is. In fact, in ways these are kind of two sides of the same coin, or opposites in a way, but opposites in a way where you're it's a puzzle piece sort of.
Counterparts.
That's a good way to put it. One is very much the monster, the villain, isn't quite present throughout all of it. And in fact, in some ways, you kind of forget about the villain and stuff And in this one, the villain is present throughout pretty much the entire thing. In fact, they are right there, and smack dab in the beginning.
That is a good point.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of fun how different they are. But similar they are as well.
Truly was the perfect combo tonight.
Yeah. Like, I think out of all of our combos, this might be the best one, frankly. That was kind of by accident.
Possibly.
I did not know. I did not expect these to be so good together. So yeah. Loved both these stories.
Yeah. Really give that a nice Halloween horror movie vibe to start off the month.
Very much so, very much so. And you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna list off every episode in October. I'm gonna say a horror story that you should read. So yeah, my recommendation today, it's called Tales from the Haunted Mansion. It has a brilliant reading on Audible. If you like the Haunted Mansion, I think you're probably going to like this story. You, on the other hand, you don't know much about the ride. But it's got a really wicked sense of humor, let's call it. A very dark but funny sense of humor. While also being very menacing at the same time. And there are like 4 books in the series or so. They're all pretty great. And I would highly recommend them. So yeah.
Nice. Is it actually like an official Disney story?
Yep. Let me tell you, there are quite a few official Disney stories sort of things about the Haunted Mansion. Some of them get fucked up. Some of them are just wildly gruesome. It's like
the bride, the baby in the bathtub.
Not that, but there is a bride in the Haunted Mansion, and she's pretty dark in herself. She chopped off her husband's heads.
Is there a bathtub in the mansion?
Probably, but we don't see it.
Ooh, is there a baby?
I hope not.
Oh. Well, I just thought maybe the mansion could have been haunted by a baby.
Yep. There might be a baby in the Haunted Mansion, I don't know. I know there are, like, canonically kids who died. In it. There weren't for a while, but they eventually put them in there. In the Florida Haunted Mansion, specifically. Anyways, yeah. This whole rant wasn't supposed to go on for this long. Alright, well, can't wait for whatever we do next week. That's gonna be exciting. Oh my god, Wizzy, look behind you! Cliffhanger.
Bye.
And my cat one's back out.
Okay.
Alright, guys, don't let Ross, hear this, but, I've been secretly planning for Ross's birthday that we're all gonna be going over to his house and lighting it on fire. It's a surprise, don't tell him.
Surprise!
Oh no, you heard!
No, I was just thinking. Remember the Pinkie Pie thing I was mentioning earlier? I actually really like the name Surprise. What were you talking about?